down like things as we're going. I'll write some stuff down and then we'll I don't want you to think I'm bored or anything like that as we're
Mhm.
going. I'm just taking notes, things I want to remember to ask.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Well, I'll dive right into it. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Health Movement Podcast. I'm Derek, your host. I'm a teacher of over 20 years and a certified personal trainer. You know the normal spiel. If you're watching on YouTube, like, follow, subscribe, you can comment, ask questions. Love to get back to people and interact. I have an awesome guest that I'm really excited to talk to tonight. But before I introduce him, we are not doctors. So before you go changing any programming or anything like that, please consult your physician. So without any further ado, I have with me an awesome man, Max Krohn. Thank you so much for joining.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Derek.
Of course, of course. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and then we'll kind of get into your story from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was always relatively athletic. I started bodybuilding when I was about 15 years old. So my
Wow.
brother, yeah, he started bodybuilding, and I kind of, I didn't want to fall too far behind because
Well,
as a
those
big brother.
wrestling matches, I'm sure would have gotten tougher if you didn't start lifting.
Yeah, absolutely. And they definitely did.
You got into that when you were young. And how old are you now? Do you mind me asking?
Yeah, so I'm 24.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
24
Oh,
now.
so
Hmm.
you've been in the lifting world, or at least had the experience now going on about 9 years.
Yep, yep. And it started as very on and off. Throughout high school, I wasn't super dedicated to it. I wasn't trying to put on muscle per se, but I was just trying to be competitive with football and basketball.
Okay, yeah, that's
Mhm.
that's good. We had that growing up. I got you by over 20 years. So our
Okay.
lifting um, was more. Here's the weight room. It was a cage next to the basketball court, and it was like, all right, this is the bench press, this is the squat, go lift. And nobody knew what they were doing. We had one kid who lived in there religiously, and I think he had protein shakes for every meal, so he put on a little bit of weight. But most
Yeah.
we our I think our average weight for our starting lineman was maybe a buck 75.
Oh my
I
gosh.
think we were up in that. We were fast. We did
Mhm.
well, but it was a lot of pulling guards and movement and all that. We weren't going to steamroll anybody, that's for sure.
Mhm.
But um, yeah, so football, basketball, and that was through high school. You played those.
Yep, that was through high school, and I was thinking about playing football at the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh, but long story short, um, I wanted to make some money, and I was ready to hang up the cleats, and I actually practiced with the football team for a little bit, but I don't know, my heart wasn't really in it. I ended off my high school football career on a pretty high note, so we my freshman year we changed to 8-man football because
Oh,
we
okay.
were such a small team, such a small school. We had 20 something people on the team, so we changed to 8-man football, and there were a lot of other schools in Wisconsin going to 8-man. So um, yeah, there was probably a total of, by the time I graduated, maybe 50 or so, 60 teams that were 8-man, something like that,
Wow.
all relatively small schools for the most part. And so, yeah, we were pretty competitive for the first few years. And then senior year is when we had, kind of our shot at the state championship. And the first few years, the state championship wasn't even a thing. WIAA didn't have a state championship set up for 8-man football. So it was the
Oh, okay.
first 8-man uh, Wisconsin state championship that was even possible for any team to win.
Yeah.
So we were all looking forward to it,
Oh,
and
that's
we ended up it was our year. We had, I think, 8 seniors, and so we ended up winning
oh,
the
so you
state
got the
championship.
inaugural championship. That's
E-
great.
exactly. Yeah. So it was a really cool way to end my football career.
Yeah, you don't get much better than that, you know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
we
That's
my
good.
senior year of high school, we made it to the Super Bowl, luckily. And we lost 7-3, and it was one of those games where it's just not the way you want to end the season, but
Yeah. That's
yeah,
tough.
I'm glad you guys ended the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
So
cool.
then after that, where'd you
Mhm.
head?
Yeah, so I did end up going to Oshkosh, University of Wisconsin Oshkosh, and I went the first full year without even thinking about football really, and I joined the entrepreneurship community just because that's what I've always been interested in,
Yep.
and I was, I wasn't really the happiest. I was kind of struggling with school, and the next year is when I contacted a coach and I was like, "Hey, I know you sent me like recruitment emails in high school, and he apparently knew all about about us, the football team, the high school football team that
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had been on, and I went to the All Star game in Wisconsin, and that was hosted at UW Oshkosh. So supposedly he knew about me, and he was saying, yeah, we'd love to have you practice with us. So I practiced for a short period of time, and then I when it came to summer and resuming training, halfway through the summer, I couldn't give up the summer job that I had. For a 19-year-old, 20-year-old at the time, I was making pretty good money, so I decided to stick to that and be done. And I stayed in person at Oshkosh for 2 years, and then I took a gap year out to Breckenridge, Colorado, and that's something I've always been a snowboarder. That's
yep,
something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to go out there, and that's where I had the injury that you're familiar with. I had a C3, C4 spinal contusion that left me paralyzed from the neck down, and that was while snowboarding. And that, yeah, that completely changed the course of my life, and it taught me so much. And yeah, so
so C3, C4, is that what's that injury look like? Do they get slammed together, or I'm not as familiar with the terminology.
pretty much. So what contusion, from my understanding, what contusion means is essentially pressure, like compression pressure in that area. So what happened was I was snowboarding, and um, I kind of hit a jump. I propelled off the nose of my board to get some
Yeah,
air. It's called a nollie for those who are unfamiliar with lingo and whatnot. But it's
yeah.
propelling off of the nose of the board, and the nose of my board stuck into the snow, and I flew forward, and I was going probably, like, my average speed was like 35-ish miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. So that's what I'm guessing that I was going.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just fell straight on my neck. The board stuck in the ground. I got propelled forward, and and yeah, I got air. And by the time I hit, my face hit the ground, I knew something was
Yeah.
really messed up.
Who
And
were
I did.
you with during this trip?
Mhm. I was with so I went out to Breckenridge to live and to work out there by myself. I didn't know anyone, but during that, on that day, I went with two of my friends that I met through working at the resort, Breckenridge
Yeah.
Resort, and Lily and Peyton were their names. I still keep in contact with them. They didn't even know that I got injured because they split off one way and I split off the other, and that happens a lot,
Yeah.
when you're
Oh yeah,
snowboarding. You
definitely. If you're
see.
going down a trail and
Mhm.
everyone just kind of does their thing.
Exactly, and I'll meet you at the ski lift, because oftentimes it just goes to one, and so Yeah, I was laying there, and at first, at the very, at impact, I didn't know what happened. I didn't know what was going on fully, and they ended up, you know, realizing, okay, he's not coming down to the chairlift, so they went up the chairlift, skied down to the path that I took,
Yeah.
and they saw me laying there with ski patrol, and yeah, that's where they realized that I was not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm just trying to envision what then, like, obviously I
it
can't,
was.
I can't. That's gotta be terrifying, especially how long had you
Yeah.
been out there?
So I had been out there roughly 3 months. So I got out there beginning of November, and this was in February. So it was
Okay.
February 14th, um, Valentine's Day. It's February 14th,
Oh, awesome.
2022. Yeah,
Oh, jeez.
yeah.
So that
That's
obviously you had time to meet people, but to develop strong connections, that's not a lot of time right there. So, all right, obviously ski patrol knows something's wrong. They were they able to get you in one of those sleds and bring you down, or was what
yeah.
happened next?
Exactly. So ski patrol kind of, assessed the situation, and they put me in a neck brace right away, which was a very good idea. And
Yeah.
then they moved me, and luckily nothing was broken. No, I didn't have any broken bones. If I did have a broken bone, my recovery would have looked much different.
All right.
Much different.
Yeah, are you talking about with the vertebrae? There was no, or just in general?
Exactly. With vertebrae. Um, so they got me onto the toboggan, and they used a snowmobile to ski me down to the ski patrol kind of medical area. And then what they did from there is, they didn't really do much from there besides, await the ambulance. I took an ambulance from there to a local hospital, and then from the hospital, I got airlifted to another hospital. I That's where I would be in the ICU for about 8 days, and yeah, so got airlifted from via helicopter to the the hospital where I was in the ICU. And yeah, and shortly after that I got into recovery. But
Did they, you were quadriplegic, so you had
mhm,
no mobility below your neck.
no
What did
mobility
they
whatsoever.
tell you? Were they telling you it might never come back? It's not going to come back. It might come. Like, what was,
Mhm.
how did they relay that to you?
That's a wonderful question. Yeah, so some of the staff, well, pretty much nobody was making assumptions as far as what I was capable of when it comes to my recovery, and because it was so early on, and sometimes these things, normally those things don't heal the way that mine healed, but most of the time there's something broken, and when that happens, there's there's permanent damage in your spinal cord, that
Okay.
like there's a partial sever, and when that happens, there's no chance of repairing that. Symptoms
The
can
nerve
definitely
damage, and
get
then once
better.
that's done, it's you're
Mhm.
screwed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, when you hear uh complete injury, like a complete spinal cord injury, that means the whole, not to get graphic or anything, but the whole
No.
spinal cord was severed. um So that's kind of, from my understanding, uh, the difference between incomplete and complete. So luckily, mine was incomplete. They didn't know that, so they didn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
Um,
And how
but
long was it for you to learn that? I mean, do you jump into an MRI or X-ray? Can't really. X-ray would tell if it's broken, but they wouldn't be
mhm,
able to tell nerve damage or anything through that.
yep, exactly. So they would do a series of like MRI, CAT scan, like ultrasounds, X-rays. They pretty much did like all of these tests within the first, I would say, week. of my of of being injured, and yeah, tons of different tests.
That's
But right away, I can't remember exactly what tests they did to to diagnose my injury, and it was a while before I actually got a proper diagnosis. I would say a couple days, but they knew what they knew what my injury was and what the problem was, which was the contusion, and between C3 and C4. So that night, before I think this was before I even contacted, I was able to talk to my mom. They did an emergency surgery, and I basically had to tell them, since I can't physically sign, like
yeah.
they basically asked me, do you want to do the surgery or not, before you see any of your family or anything like that, and I said yes. Yeah, so it was like I think it was like 5 hours after my injury. I don't know, something like that.
But
And I said yes.
right after.
Yeah. Yeah, and they knew what to do, and luckily the surgery, from my understanding, went exactly to plan. And normally they would do this surgery from the back, but as of as of 2022, it was pretty new for this kind of injury to be an insertion point from the front. So
Where's the C3 C4? Is that like
it's right around here.
okay?
Hmm.
I had like nothing compared to what you had. I had a ruptured disc. It might have been between 6 and 7, but they went in through the front of my neck. They like move everything around, pull a disc out, pop a new one in. You
Yeah.
feel night and day after. So that surgery through the front it's pretty amazing what they were telling me, and recovery wise, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
But that's wow. You had to make that decision on your own without, like, obviously, you can tell at that point something's seriously wrong.
Hmm.
And you got to, wow. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine your mom's reaction. That is
Oh my
every
gosh. Yeah.
parent's worst nightmare. Next to like finding out, something, death or something like that. This is the
Yeah.
next worst
It, it's
phone call you can get.
it's one of the worst. Yeah, it's one of the worst calls that a parent can get, for sure.
I
And
imagine your mother probably remembers exactly where she was, what she was wearing, down to like everything at that second.
mhm. Yeah,
Wow.
she can still tell me exactly how that conversation went with. It was the chief operating officer of the mountain. Um, she called. Yeah, she called my mom, and she was like kind of beating around the bush, and because she didn't know. So she's seen people wreck themselves on the mountain, but she's never had to explain to one of her employees' parents that
That's
I don't know
true.
if this is true for sure, but that's what it seemed like to my mom. It
Oh,
didn't
that's
seem like
right,
she
because
was.
you're an employee there as well.
Mhm. Exactly. And so she was like, kind of like, just tell me if my son's okay, and she was like, basically, he's alive, but
Yeah.
you know
But he's not
he's
okay.
yeah, no. Yeah, and so yeah, that really shook her, and she actually just got back from, I think it was Florida. We live in Wisconsin, and so she told my her partner, Carlos. She was like, turn around, and he was like, why? And she was like, turn around. We have to go back, and she was like, I'll explain it later. And yeah, so when
Wow.
I
I
finally got
can't.
on the phone with her, yeah, it was obviously a very passionate conversation, very interesting
Yeah.
conversation. And she said, I'm coming out there, I'm coming out there. I was like, no, and essentially
You're gonna
I
tell
don't.
your mom no, don't
Yeah,
come out,
yeah.
like that didn't work.
Yeah, see, I don't know why I would have said that. I was like, well, I said this. I said, I don't want you to see me like this.
Yeah,
And that's
shit.
really, it still gets me a little bit emotional, But um, yeah, I knew that there was no way that she
You're
wasn't.
not winning that battle with mom.
Yeah,
I don't know your mother, but there's no way you're winning that one
yeah,
with your
yeah,
Max.
no, yeah,
Wow.
not gonna
Okay.
happen.
So, gee, what's that first night like? Like, I know
Mm.
you had
Oh
surgery
my
after, so
gosh.
I'm sure, but the first coherent moment you had to
Mhm.
yourself, like, what was that? Like, how did you
Yeah,
deal with that piece?
a lot of people, a lot of people think that it was, this is a terrible thing, a traumatic thing, which I mean, it is, but at the same time, as I was, on the mountain, and as I, had my injury, it was weird because I felt some, a sense of peace. And it's like I said, it sounds really weird, but it's because it, I had to, you know, trust something, and I believe in God. I trust in God, and it was very easy for me to trust in Him, trust in God, knowing that I can't do anything about my current situation. There's virtually nothing that I can do besides rest, and besides trust my doctors, trust my nurses, trust in my surgeons. Like that's really
Yeah, you've
that's
got to
really all I
trust
could do.
absolutely everybody, and you don't know any of them, but
Yeah.
you've got to put all your faith and trust and everything. Like,
Mhm.
wow.
Exactly.
Can what's your Instagram handle again? I know I have it just off the top of my head, like so we can tell people because I want them to watch one of your pinned reels there because it is
Oh, I
if they
appreciate that.
can
Yeah.
watch that while they're listening, like it's
Mhm.
awesome to see.
Yeah.
So,
So it's Maxwell Krohn. So MaxwellKrohn.
all right,
Just
so
Maxwell Krohn on,
at
yeah, on
Maxwell Krohn
Instagram.
on Instagram. All right, I do encourage people as you're listening, hop on there and take a look at the reel while
Mhm.
Max is kind of explaining everything because it's inspirational. This does have a good
I
ending, just
appreciate
not
that.
to not to give away the ending or anything like that, but
Yeah.
it's a hell of a story. All
I
right,
appreciate
so
that. Yeah.
you're there, mom shows up, and then when did the recovery begin in
Mhm.
terms of movement? Well, sorry, can I back up? Can I
Of
ask a different
course.
question first?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you, do you remember the first? Do you had no feeling neck down, correct?
No feeling, neck down. Yep.
Do
Yep.
you
No
remember
sensation, no function.
do you remember the first sensation that you had or when the time came when you're like, holy crap,
Mhm.
I think I feel something.
I would say, I would say it was when I was instructed to squeeze a finger. Um, so there's, it was so dull that it just slowly started coming back, but it was so dull. But I think that was it. So they asked me to, squeeze a finger, and it's the craziest thing. I would try so hard to like to do that, but I had to like tell, my brain had to tell my hand to do it. I couldn't just I couldn't
Just
just do it.
yeah.
Um it took immense thought to make that happen. And even like I think it was the first time that I did that. I actually successfully squeezed the doctor's finger. I didn't feel it. They told
Oh.
me good job, and I was like, oh, I, I guess I
Like,
guess
oh,
that's what
okay.
it feels like, and that's how I do it. You know, it's those things that you never expect to need to relearn. And it was that process, you know 10 times over, 100 times over for everything. And yeah, I think that was the first time that I felt something. But like I said, it was just so dull that it would slowly come back. But it was never like a, oh wow, I feel that. uh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so you're 24 now. How old were you when this
24 now.
happened?
Yeah, so I was
This was
21 when it happened,
Valentine's
of 2022. Yeah.
God. Do you like Valentine's Day now?
So I don't. I mean, I kind of poke fun at it because I've been single for a while, and I say as if Valentine's Day wasn't hard enough.
Yes.
It's completely a joke. I'm totally, I'm totally fine.
Well, now
But
you
I
can
just
think
say,
about it like you went through, I'm imagining hell
hmm,
and you
yeah,
made it out the other side. So whatever you have to deal with, it's like, I know I said don't swear, but like F that, like you
mhm,
couldn't stop me then. You're not stopping me now, sort of thing.
yeah,
So maybe that's a reminder too of just what
mhm,
you're capable of. So, all right. So the recovery started. How long was
mhm,
that process, and how like how
mhm.
long each day, and what did that look like?
So it was 8 days until I was out of the ICU and into it was Craig Hospital. Best, in my opinion, the best spinal cord injury hospital out there. I was, extremely fortunate to have been placed into Craig Hospital because it wasn't guaranteed. There was
Is that in Wisconsin
that's
or in
actually
Colorado? I mean,
in Colorado, yes.
yeah.
So I was in Lakewood, Colorado for the in the ICU. That was in Lakewood, Colorado, and then it was just, I mean, it was right down the road to Craig Hospital, which was closer to Denver. And yeah, and I was there in Craig Hospital for it was 2.5 months before I was moved to outpatient, which
Okay.
is in the grand scheme of things, an extremely fast
I was gonna say that
recovery.
sounds really fast.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm sure it was not pleasant. I'm not
Mhm.
diminishing the 2.5 months because that can be a long time. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking grand scheme of things.
Mhm.
So once after so sorry, back to so what was the first part? Oh geez, sorry about
Mhm.
that.
No worries.
Do they start working like top down, shoulders, hands, like your upper body, and then work to your feet, or is it kind of everything at once?
It's kind of everything at once. So, of course, they tried to get me to do, to squeeze the fingers and to wiggle the toes, and then it was like if I'm laying down on a bed, it was kind of like bringing my knee up, like bringing my foot closer to, closer to my body, I guess, closer to my,
Yep.
my butt, my thighs, whatever, um, and and like dragging my heel up the bed, if that makes any sense, and bringing my knee up. So like that was kind of the progression, and they just said, if you can lift your heel off the bed, that's great. Let's try to do that. That was kind of how it started, and it was pretty much just any movement that I could do, try to do a little bit more of that, and just continuously work on every little thing that you're doing right now. Try to just keep doing it and keep doing it further, and higher, lift your heel higher off the bed than you did last time. It was just a matter of improving that. And then once we got into actual therapy, like physical therapy, occupational therapy, stuff like that, then it was kind of a mix. It was kind of a mix of, you're going to be on the bike for 45 minutes, and then you're going to work on, you know taking your hand and putting on a towel that has like a gradual surface that goes up, so you're kind of like, I don't know,
Oh,
trying to slide the towel
slide it up there. Yeah.
up the ramp, so to speak. And it was just stuff like that, like, and they would mix in some fine motor stuff, which took me a very long time. Especially, I had uh, very bad nerve pain. My nerve pain in my toes was bad, but my nerve pain in my fingers and my hands was just 10 times worse. Like, I couldn't even grab onto things for 2 weeks, because my fingertips just were so, yeah, it just hurt so bad.
So
Yeah.
how are you feeling now? I know you have a lot of athletic endeavors that you partake in now, but is there residual side effects or things that you still deal with?
So there are things that I still deal with very, I always say if these little things are what I have to deal with for the rest of my life, I'm more than grateful because
Yeah.
the the little things consist of still a little bit of fine motor, a lack of sensation in my fingers because your nerve endings are all in your fingers. So when you have an injury like that, when as you get that neurologic ability back, from my understanding, it kind of excites your nerve endings so much that they can kind of get burnt out, and that's why you
Oh,
have
okay.
nerve pain and yeah, it's just the tips of my fingers don't have as good of sensation as they used to, and with that comes a little bit of fine motor ability.
I gotcha.
I have some dull sensations in other parts of my body, but for the most part, it's so minimal. You know, it's
So
yeah.
obviously you've been athletic and active your whole life, it sounds like. I
Mm,
mean, you were snowboarding when this happened. Um,
mm,
but tell us what you're doing now. Like it sounds like I'm assuming, and I hope I'm not overstepping here, but you must have a new appreciation for what you're able
yeah.
to do. Even
100%. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. So what I've been up to now is uh I was interested in a triathlon, just doing a triathlon because a lot of people are asking me, how's your recovery going? How are you doing? And I was still doing some bodybuilding because that's what I always loved to do. I was never a runner. I never liked running. I would
I
the
get
only time I would ever bike was when I was trying to get to my friend's house before I had a car.
yes,
So
yes,
uh yeah, that was pretty much my and I was not good at swimming. But anyway, I was always a bodybuilder, and I always liked to lift weights. So that's what I did for a while, and then I was like, I want to do a triathlon. I don't know why. You know, People are asking me how I'm doing, and
yeah.
I was like, I want to do a triathlon, and I'm so glad I got that calling because it was a very very cool experience. So. Uh, I looked at so in my area, Door County is the area. So if you picture Wisconsin as a hand,
Yep.
Door County's on the thumb, and
Okay.
um, and so Door County has a triathlon every year, and it has very good ratings, and it was in the USA Today as like one of the best triathlons in the country or something like that, and
What's the
so.
distance for this triathlon?
Mhm. So there's a sprint triathlon and there's a half Ironman triathlon. And the sprint triathlon, I can't remember the exact distances, but it's essentially, I would say it's probably like a half mile, like maybe a quarter mile to a half mile swim, maybe
Yeah.
like a 20 something mile bike, and then probably like a 5K run.
Okay.
So, or maybe like a 10K run, something like that.
Yeah.
And then, so the half iron is 1.2 mile swim, a 56-mile bike, and then a 13 and a half or 13.1 mile
Yeah.
run. And I was looking at the options, and I was like, well, you know, first of all, I don't know if I could ever do that half iron. But I'm looking at the sprint triathlon. I was like,
Yeah.
well, I know I could do that. Um, so I was like, okay, I want to do something that don't know if I can do. So I ended up signing up for the half Ironman,
I love it.
and yeah, that was like my introduction to racing, and I was like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I told my mom, I was like, Mom, please just buy this. It's like $400. I'll
Yeah.
I'll pay you back as soon as you do. but I just didn't want to see that myself. Like I didn't want to register for the race myself
Yeah.
because it was a lot of money for something that, you know, I was like, this is irresponsible for many reasons. But
No, God, no, like yes, money wise, but you went from a quadriplegic to signing up for a half Ironman. I don't know the
yeah,
percentages, but the
yeah,
percentage of healthy Americans or just anybody in general that have completed a half Ironman, I think
yeah,
it's astronomically low. Um,
yeah. And
that's
that's partially why I find it irresponsible, but of course irresponsible in hindsight. But I'm like I said, I'm so glad I did it. It was such a cool experience, and I learned that there's a race culture that and race community that's just honestly the most beautiful thing. Like it's just so encouraging. It's the most encouraging community
that's
that
that's the
I've
word I
found.
keep
And
hearing is encouraging. Nobody
yeah,
cares.
it's
Like there
amazing.
might be a couple people who are trying to win,
Mhm,
but it's completing it. It's accomplishing the goal of getting to the finish
mhm.
line that matters. And people, they're happy for you, like genuinely happy.
Absolutely.
They don't even know you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like and I don't know when I was thinking about this, I don't know why I even thought about it, but I was like, it's almost like an escape because you see so many people that, you hear of so many people that are not exactly, kind of, I'll just put it this way, almost the opposite of that.
Yeah.
They don't like your ideas. They're discouraging whenever you're talking to them, and whenever you say something or do something, they always just seem to be on the other side of it. And it's like, why can't you just be positive? Why can't you just be
Yeah.
optimistic? So I found these races in this community to be almost like an escape from that, like the opposite. And I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of been my experience with it.
That's awesome. And I've
Yeah.
noticed that I haven't done an half Ironman yet. That I do want to do those. I want to run a marathon. I want to get there. I have like I feel embarrassed saying it now. I have Achilles tendonitis, which hurts, and I'm
Oh,
afraid I'll rupture it. So I'm
yeah.
trying to heal that up before I start that stuff, which
Hmm.
is really such a minor injury. But I know the community of people is on, even going to the gym. You see
Hmm.
the same people at the gym all the time. They're excited for you. And
Hmm.
when new people come to the gym, nobody's judging you for coming for the first time.
Hmm.
It's more like I have more respect for the person that comes in clearly out of shape. Obviously, it's intimidating and they don't know what they're doing, but I have so much respect for that person who's willing to put themselves out and try something new. That how else
Absolutely.
do you react but encourage them and try to help them out and root them on?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's so cool seeing that, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I feel like that doesn't get talked about much. The people that are, they're noticeably, like you said, noticeably out of shape, but they're trying and they're, in the gym pushing themselves, and yeah, it's a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, and it's I've talked to a lot of people. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying for some people to set foot in the gym. I think they're worried about being judged, and maybe if I don't want to make too many assumptions, but if somebody is, they get to the point where they're really out of shape, and then they're insecure, and then maybe they've dealt with people who are rude and mean.
Hmm.
That doesn't really happen in those sort of communities. It's so much more
No,
supportive.
I think that's partially because like movies and social media stuff like that. I think that's where the psychological aspect of that comes in. Just a guess, but
Maybe.
yeah, no, it is unfortunate that that's still a belief from a lot of people, and that's what's keeping a lot of people out of the gym. But hopefully content like this helps people realize that the gym is absolutely a safe place. It's
Yeah.
safer than an office space. It's safer than
Or
the
than
grocery
the
store
halls of
even.
a high school or something like that. 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you when was that half Ironman? When did you do that?
So that was July of 2023. Yeah, July of
So it
2023.
works.
So it was about 2.5 years after. No, sorry, that was 2024. That was last year. Yeah, that was yeah, July of 2024. Yeah,
So quadriplegic to a half Ironman in 2.5 years.
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
That's remarkable. That is
thank you.
absolutely remarkable. That we
I
talk a lot
appreciate
about mindset, and that's far more important. I say we. I had a buddy Tim who came on here when we started this, and he became a firefighter EMT. So his schedule got in the way, and he couldn't really do it anymore. But we break up health into four categories, like fitness level, nutrition, recovery, and then your mindset. And
that.
mindset by far is the most important. They're all important.
Mhm.
But if you're not focused, if you don't, I mean, it's hard. All that
Mhm.
stuff is hard. Going to the gym is hard. Going for runs, training for things like you can do it
Absolutely.
once, but nobody wants to do it every single time. It's not like
Mhm.
the alarm goes off every day and you're jumping up because you're excited.
You're just ready to get after it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that does.
yeah.
There's some people like that. I know
Mhm.
one person who just gets excited. He's you look at him and you're like, oh God, this guy's annoying as can be, but he's jacked and he loves it. He annoying in a good way. Um,
Yeah.
but it's yeah, that's it takes a
Like,
certain mindset. So
mm,
you had to have learned a hell of a lot about yourself in those
so
in
much.
the last couple of
Yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah. I learned so much, and it took me a lot of thought, a lot of introspection, journaling. I started reading, and yeah, I I tried to learn everything I could about, I guess, philosophy and just the human body, and yeah, I learned so much. Um, let's see.
It's not good what you went through, but I imagine you have grown and changed exponentially because of what you had to deal with.
Mhm.
Um, I know it wasn't pleasant, but looking at who you are now, and I obviously I'm not saying you were bad or immature or anything like that beforehand, but was it worth all the growth that you've had? Which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
weird. I feel like a jerk even asking that question, but like
No,
being where you are now, is it?
it's yeah, one of the best questions because so many people don't want to ask that question because they wouldn't even think to ask me, you know, um, was your injury, was that kind of thing, was that, a net benefit? And it was. It really, I tell people it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Literally. The best thing that ever happened to me. And most people would consider the exact opposite. Most people would think if you got paralyzed, that would be the worst thing that would ever happen to you. And of
Yeah,
course, I can sit here and say it's the best thing that ever happened to me, having made a full recovery.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
there's a lot of things when it comes to my mindset that it's like if I would have been down, if I would have said that this is the worst thing that ever happened to me, if I would have let myself just dwell in that pity, and would I have the same recovery? And I don't think so. Like, I genuinely I've thought about those things so deeply, and to the point of like cause and effect of, yeah, if I thought about this, would I really have gotten up to work out when I didn't have to? There's so many things like that, and yeah, I'm just so blessed.
yeah. Max, you a
Yeah,
remarkable, remarkable man.
thank you.
I am really
I really
glad you
appreciate that.
introduced us, and it's
That it means so much. Yeah.
no, it is because you're right. A lot of people wouldn't have had the mindset that you had. And
Mhm.
I really believe it. What you think, what you believe kind of manifests itself. And you can take the same situation, put two different people in it, and they'll both react differently. If you've always been a pessimist, always been negative, you're going to find the bad crap. And if you've
Mhm.
always been positive, you'll find the lessons.
Mhm.
Um, so that's
Yeah.
yeah. That's awesome. So what's next for you?
Absolutely.
What's
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 next?
on the list?
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful question. Yeah, so after my half iron, it was a couple months later, a few months later, I did the marathon in Madison, Wisconsin,
All
and
right.
then just this year, it was about it wasn't even a year after my half iron, I did a trail 50K. That was a run, and so yeah, that was definitely the most challenging, but that's kind of
Yeah.
the idea for me. Just keep doing, one level higher of it, one level
Keep
more
upping
of a
it.
challenge. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
just keep upping the ante.
So a
So,
trail 50K, that's through the woods. That's
mm,
not easy. I can
yeah,
imagine.
yeah, that was very difficult, but at the same time, I nailed my nutrition. I nailed my sleep. I just that race felt so good in so many ways. Like I wish I could say, oh, it was so so hard. It was really hot that day, but yeah, I wish I could say it was the hardest thing in the world. But I did a really good job preparing. I'm just gonna say it that way. Um, and I'm gonna hope that I do my next race just like that. But yeah,
Do you
that
have the
that was a
next one
really
picked out?
enlightening experience.
Do you have
I
another one
do.
ready?
I
What's this
do.
one? What and when? I want to know. I want to hear when this is.
So yeah, so I just and it's funny. Today is the day that this race registration opened up. It opens up for 2 days and then it closes off and it goes to a lottery system. So there's so much demand for this race that there are only 200 runners that are going to be selected from this lottery, and yeah, like I said, 48 hours the race registration closes, and that's that. Whoever gets in that time frame gets picked. It's August 22nd. I have to wait until August 22nd. But this
To find
race,
out if you get
th-
in.
to find out if I get in.
Oh,
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
what's
It's
the race though? Can you or
Yep.
should you not say this isn't coming out for like a week and a half, so registration will be closed.
No, absolutely. No, that's no problem. So it's the Bear Performance Nutrition BPN. It's their ultra marathon. It's a 50K, or sorry, it's a 50 mile um overnight, yeah, ultra marathon. And it's called Bear Ranch. It's a trail. Yeah, it's a trail course. It's a 5 mile loop, and you do that 10 times. And if you finish, well, yeah, yeah, you don't get a medal if you don't finish. But yeah, that's the race. You got to do it in 12 hours. And
When's the
so
race date? Do you like if you get
mm,
selected? When are you going to be running
it's not until November. So it's November 1st.
in Wisconsin?
No, no. So this is actually in Texas,
Oh,
in
okay,
Austin.
okay.
Yeah.
Phew, I was going to say
Um,
November 1st in Wisconsin. That's dangerous. You're going to be
um,
trudging through some snow, probably.
yeah, there's a good chance. And it's funny. So I have a backup plan, which was actually my plan A. So my plan A was to do this loop in Wisconsin around Lake Winnebago. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Lake
I've
Winnebago.
heard of it. I haven't been there.
Mm. Yeah, it's so it among or sorry, besides the Great Lakes, it's the biggest lake in Wisconsin. So, and it's the biggest inland lake. So,
Just sorry. I wait. Maybe
uh,
were you talking about this in one of your reels?
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
that's I'm like I know I heard somebody say this.
yeah,
Okay, and you were
yeah,
explaining about the Great Lakes too, but they go into a different country. So all right,
exactly.
I'm
Yep.
not going
So,
crazy.
yeah, no, 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 yeah. So this race, well, it's not a race. It's just something that I really, really want to do. I want to do very badly for a lot of reasons, but I also just kind of it's one of those things that I pray a lot for clarity, and I was like, okay, so do I want to do this or this? And long story short, signs just pointed to this race, which is, or I keep saying this race, it's a challenge, and it's running around Lake Winnebago. So if you do it in the shortest possible way, it's right around 85 miles, right around there. Yeah, but the thing is, like, if I'm going around the lake, if I'm gonna take my time to plan all of this, I may as well just, I know this logic is gonna sound really dumb, but I may as well just make it 100.
Yeah. Well,
So
turn it into David Goggins with the filter.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
That's
so that's the idea. I'm going to and if I don't get selected for the BPN 50 miler, that's going to be the week after. So it's going to be the November 8th. So most of the time lately, we haven't been getting too much snow by then.
that's
So
kind of right.
uh and I think that would make for some great content. I plan on making a long form video of that whole
I
day.
was going to say, are you
Um
going to pull sponsors? I'm sure you could do charitable donations in local businesses. Like you
yeah,
could get, you
I
could.
would love to I would love to do something like that. I don't know just about anything about asking for, you know, donations and sponsors and stuff like this, and doing it for a cause. I would like to do it for a cause, but I don't know how to do that. So I'm gonna
Once
have
we're
to take
done
some
here, I
time.
had somebody on the show who did something very similar. So I'll talk to you about that
Okay.
after and see if maybe I can help connect you guys there.
Yeah, no, that'd be amazing. As of now, I'm looking for any insight as far as how to make it well, I mean, maybe safer, but also because it's going to be deer hunting season around that time, I'm
Oh,
pretty sure.
you better be running in bright orange.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that only occurred to me a couple days ago. My mom was like, you're going to be running during deer hunting season. I was like, yeah, I didn't think about that at all.
you're gonna
um
have to have music blaring or something too. So there are
yeah,
no deer nearby; they'll all be running away.
that's a good idea. Hopefully nobody, gets mad at that. And
Oh,
yeah,
you're
if we're
not
trying to
getting.
keep that PG, I'm gonna just avoid that part. But so yeah, that's the idea. If I don't get selected for the BPN 50 miler, I'm gonna be doing that 100. So
And if you do
sounds
get
like amazing
selected, you can
logic,
always
but
do that 100 in the spring too.
yep.
Once it thaws, that's awesome. Holy
Yeah.
crap, we've been talking for like an hour here.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
I didn't even realize that, Max. I'm so sorry for
Yeah.
taking up all your time here.
No, no, I'm enjoying this. I had nothing planned. I blocked a lot of time off for this.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we met. I'm glad we had the opportunity to talk about this.
I am also.
Um,
Absolutely.
how can people get in touch with you at Maxwell Krohn on Instagram? Is that the best way?
Yep, Maxwell Krohn on Instagram is going to be the best. So yeah, Maxwellkrohn. That's my Instagram handle. That's where I post the most. I'm pretty active there. Uh, I'm not focusing on any other social media
Yeah,
platforms. I just
that's
posting on Instagram is so easy. It's the best way to capture my life. So yeah,
awesome.
that's
That's
the best
awesome. So
spot
I'll put
for
that
sure.
in the show notes. And everybody, honestly, like if you haven't followed anybody before, give Max a follow. The stuff
I
he's doing
appreciate
is
that.
incredible.
I
100%
appreciate that. Really.
yeah. Everybody,
Oh,
thank you so much for listening. I can't believe it's been an hour. Like this one flew by.
yeah.
Um, and
Yeah,
yeah, that
absolutely.
that was unexpected how quickly that went by. But thank you. I couldn't appreciate
Yeah.
it. Can't thank
No,
you
it's
enough.
my pleasure. And I really hope there's some good takeaways here, and that's
Oh,
the only reason I'm doing what I'm doing on Instagram, you know,
yeah, no,
pursuing this message. And yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredible message to have out there, and it
Thank you.
puts in this perspective like everybody has bad days. Some days are obviously
Mhm,
a little more difficult to go through than others, but the mindset's
mhm.
right, the focus is right. You can get through
Yeah,
anything. Um,
yeah,
well, thank you. Thank you
100%.
so much for coming. And thank you
My
everybody for
pleasure.
listening. Have a great night, and we'll talk later.